Rot in prison, Dad. Everything you spent your whole life building, it's ours now. Those weren't words. They were knives. And her smile hurt more than the handcuffs snapping around my wrists. I was a 68-year-old man, standing in the middle of the courtroom, watching my own daughter celebrate my destruction. Cameras were flashing. Strangers were judging. And the city I had given 36 years of service to, had turned its back on me. Her name was Elena, my daughter, and beside her stood her husband, Victor Hale. The judge delivered the sentence. 7 years. Federal prison. Charges? Insurance fraud. Bribery. Corruption. Every charge was a lie. Every piece of evidence was manufactured. Elena grabbed Victor's arm and laughed softly. Victor laughed loud enough for me to hear him from across the courtroom. The judge banged the gavel. But it didn't matter anymore. They stood up and walked out, like people who had just won a war. Elena turned back one last time and looked at me. There was no regret in her eyes. No sadness. Only satisfaction. Everything is ours now, Dad. They pulled me up. My knees protested. At this age, every sudden movement is pain. But I kept my face firm. I refused to give them the pleasure of seeing me break. People were whispering. Some looked at me with pity. Some with disgust. An old woman, a friend of my late wife Margaret, looked at me and then looked away. That look felt heavier than the chains. Shame. Then I looked down at my hand. The ring was still there. The National Fire Service Valor Ring. Only 90 people in the entire country wear it. Serial No. 0713. Thomas Grayson. Metro Fire Department. 36 years of service. 52 commendations. They hadn't taken it. They thought a ring wasn't dangerous. They had no idea that this ring could open doors. Margaret died 7 years ago. Cancer. After that, I raised Elena alone. Double shifts. Night calls. Missed holidays. Missed birthdays. I believed I was doing everything for her. Maybe I was wrong. When Victor entered our lives, expensive suits, smooth words, polished smiles, my daughter slowly drifted away from me. I didn't trust him, but I stayed silent. Then the questions started. Assets, insurance, retirement accounts, just formal paperwork, Dad. I believed them, and that trust destroyed my life. Outside, the air was cold. Reporters were shouting. Mr. Grayson, did you really take bribes? Do you regret it? I said nothing. The van drove away. The city faded behind me. The city where I had pulled people out of fires, carried children through smoke, risked my life again and again. Now that same city believed I was a criminal. I wasn't. And I knew something else. This story didn't end here. 25 minutes later, I sat in a small processing room. Yellow lights, cracked walls, the smell of chemicals and old sweat. Across from me sat Officer Daniel Cross. Early 40s. Tired eyes. Clean but worn uniform. His watch was dead. His phone screen was shattered. I studied him the way firefighters study people in burning buildings. This man was burning too, just inside the system. He closed my file. Transport in 30 minutes, he said. You need water or the restroom? I need to make a phone call, I said. He shook his head. Not here. Rules. I leaned forward and spoke quietly. What if I told you I could change your life? His hand froze. Excuse me. Officer Cross, I said. You work hard, but you don't get what you deserve. Your watch is broken because you can't afford a new one. Your phone is shattered because family comes first. You check the clock every 10 minutes because you're counting down to escape. The room went silent. Give me 5 minutes, I said. One phone call. Rules. Rules will keep you poor, I interrupted. Or you help me, and I give your family a new life. He laughed. You're crazy. I raised my hand. The ring caught the light. Read it. Check the serial. His breath stopped. You're serious? If I was lying, I said, do you think I'd be wearing this? Silence filled the room. Finally, he placed his personal phone on the desk. 5 minutes. If this is a lie, I'll make your life hell. I picked up the phone, dialed the number I had memorized 18 years ago. Ring, ring. Then a voice answered. Governor Evelyn Moore speaking. I took a deep breath. Evelyn, this is Thomas Grayson. Silence. Then her voice shook. Thomas? Where are you? I'm being sent to prison, I said. And I'm innocent. Officer Cross's face turned pale. And in that moment, everything began to change. Officer Cross didn't move. He stood there staring at me like he was looking at a ghost, his hand hovering near his belt, his eyes locked on the ring, then on the phone. Say something, he whispered. I held the phone close. Evelyn, listen carefully. I don't have much time, I said. I've been convicted of crimes I didn't commit. The evidence is fake. My daughter and her husband framed me to take everything. There was a pause on the line. Then her voice changed. Not panic. Not disbelief. Authority. That's impossible, Governor Moore said sharply. You're one of the cleanest men I've ever known. I know, I replied. That's why I'm calling you. I need you to stop my transfer. If I disappear into federal prison, this dies with me. Silence again then. Where are you? County detention. Processing. I'm putting my legal team on this right now, she said. Do not hang up. Officer Cross's jaw tightened. You know the governor? He muttered. I didn't answer. 15 minutes later, Cross's radio crackled. Officer Cross, report to supervisor intake immediately. He flinched. Slowly, he stepped out of the room. I sat alone, cuffs biting into my wrists, wondering if I had just made things worse. 2 minutes passed. 5. 10. Then the door opened. Cross walked back in, pale, shaken. They just ordered a full stop on your transfer, he said quietly. Federal judge override. I exhaled for the first time since the courtroom. You did the right thing, I told him. He swallowed hard. I hope so. An hour later, a man in a tailored charcoal suit entered the room. Mid-50s. Calm eyes. The posture of someone who wins arguments for a living. Mr. Grayson, he said, extending his hand. I'm David Cole. Governor Moore sent me. Cross stepped back like he didn't want to breathe the same air. Cole sat across from me and opened a leather folder. Your case is a mess, he said bluntly. A very expensive mess, but a sloppy one. He slid documents toward me. The emails presented in court? Metadata doesn't match. One message was supposedly sent from your home computer while you were attending a firefighter memorial 2 hours away. I nodded. I remember that day. The bank deposits? Cole continued. The accounts don't exist. Fake routing numbers. Amateur work. My hands trembled. All this, and they still convicted me. They buried your public defender in volume, Cole said. Classic strategy. But they underestimated one thing. What's that? How many people you've saved? Within hours, the story began to unravel. The accountant who testified against me, Paul Richter, was picked up by federal agents. 3 hours into questioning, he broke. He confessed everything. The forged emails, the fake bank accounts, the payments. All Victor Hale's idea, Richter said. He paid me 15 grand up front. Promised more once Grayson was locked away. What about my daughter? I asked Cole. He hesitated. Victor told Richter that Elena would believe anything. He said you two were already distant. That one hurt more than prison ever could. By morning, the charges against me were frozen. By evening, they were gone. A judge issued an emergency reversal. By the next day, warrants were signed. But law enforcement didn't rush the arrests. They waited. Because Elena and Victor were hosting a public auction. At Fire Station 9. The same station where I'd served most of my career. They were selling my house. My savings. My reputation. All in the name of justice. Governor Moore had one instruction. Let them speak first. The station was packed. Reporters. Donors. City officials. Elena stood at the podium in black, playing the grieving daughter. My father betrayed this city, she said. Tonight, we reclaim honor. Applause followed. Victor smiled beside her. That's when the doors opened. Governor Moore entered. Behind her, 15 firefighters in full dress uniform. Men and women whose lives I had pulled from flames. The room fell silent. One stepped forward. Thomas Grayson saved my life in '99. Another. He went back into a burning apartment 4 times. Another. He never took a dollar that wasn't earned. Cameras flashed wildly. Elena's face drained of color. Victor stepped back. Then I walked in. The room froze. You were supposed to be in prison, Elena whispered. I was, I replied calmly. Until the truth caught up. David Cole stepped forward. The evidence against Mr. Grayson was fabricated, he announced. Confessions have been signed. Victor turned and ran. He didn't make it 3 steps. Handcuffs clicked. Elena Grayson, an agent said gently. You are under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud. She collapsed. Dad, I didn't know, she cried. You never asked, I said softly. 6 months later, I stood at the fire academy. Free. Exonerated. Victor was sentenced to 18 years. The accountant got 3. Elena received 5. Officer Cross stood in the crowd. in front of a new home deeded in his name. I kept my promise, because firefighters always do.